Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Pacers Daily. I am your host, Hery Acosta. The NBA season has officially started. Thunder beating the Rockets in what was one of the best games I have seen over the last few years. Very great game, double overtime. And the Warriors defeated the Lakers. Lakers came out outside of Luka and Austin Reeves. That team just looked depleted. But, there's a lot to talk about today. We'll be talking a little bit about how to game plan for the Thunder here for tomorrow, and then just the Cam Jones situation. But as always, like and subscribe for this video. It helps out the channel a lot and keep bringing out all this content to you guys. So thank you very much for that. Get straight into it. Cam Jones has apologized for his actions, and that actually showed a lot. He specifically went to Rick Carlisle and said, I want to apologize to the team, I want to apologize to the media, I want to apologize to the fans. As we know, Cam Jones was arrested for reckless driving and evading police, but after everything, it might end up just turning into a speeding ticket. Lessons were learned, and not something you really want to do, especially you don't want to run from the cops. That is probably the big lesson there. But speeding, it happens. And, Cam Jones taking that accountability, apologizing for what he did and just being the person to say, hey, I got to talk to my team. I got to talk to the media. I got to tell everybody that what I did was wrong and that it was a mistake. That I respect that a lot, and I'm really glad he did that. It takes a lot for someone to, just hold accountability. Because that's just something that a lot of, not just NBA players, but a lot of people in this world just lack accountability. But I'm glad to see it from a young guy, so that's great. And then over to Rick Carlisle. Now, he's the one that kind of went up to the media and said, hey, so we're aware of the situation. We know what happened. I don't think that this is going to be more than just a speeding ticket. This is a young guy who thought he was going to be late for practice and ended up speeding, made a mistake, got out. There shouldn't be more than just a speeding ticket or even a little fine. And Carlisle was the one that said he's actually wants to talk to the media, he wants to talk to everyone and just, say that he's sorry for what he did. And, mistakes do happen because obviously everyone makes mistakes. Sometimes they lead to, stuff like that. But I do like Rick Carlisle having his players' backs. He always has his players' backs. And now switching over to kind of just talking a little bit about how the season can go with Rick Carlisle as the coach. We've seen how great of a coach Carlisle is. He's made multiple NBA championships, won one, and both of those were with teams that people couldn't even see in the championship. So everyone has the Pacers kind of dropping right now because of the Halliburton injury. But what they don't understand is that team chemistry is just as important as having a star player. Pacers have one of the best team chemistries in the league. And I genuinely think that'll be a reason that the Pacers can win between 45 and 50 games this year. Their roster is also one of the best in the league as well, even without Halliburton on the roster. They just have a bunch of role players that can fit perfectly together, and anyone can get hot any given night. So we're just really going to work on consistency, and that'll pretty much settle the season right there. All right, game plan time. I have a few different kind of ideas to game plan against SGA. The Rockets kind of messed it up yesterday. They did really good at first of doing one. So at first they were really holding down Shea. Shea couldn't get going until the fourth, but he ended up with 35 points. And at first it was like Chet Holmgren was playing amazing. AJ Mitchell was having a great game. Aaron Wiggins was having a good game. A lot of players were, kind of stepping up. Dort was struggling. Kaysen was struggling to shoot. Pretty good on defense, was struggling to shoot. Caruso never really got going either. So what the Rockets did at first was they kind of prevented Shea and let other people get hot. I personally think the best way to stop the Thunder, which I also feel like is the best way to stop teams like the Bucks and the Nuggets, is to actually close the game outside of these people. Jokic, the Nuggets can't do anything if Jokic isn't a passer. If Jokic has to take every shot, if Jokic has to grab every rebound, the Nuggets are not as good as they genuinely can be. But if you open up the game for Jokic, if you focus too much on Jokic, then Aaron Gordon's gonna start popping off. Jamal Murray's gonna start popping off. Christian Brown's gonna start popping off. Anyone on that roster can just start going crazy once the game is open. Same thing for Giannis. We saw Giannis have some crazy triple doubles last year out of nowhere and just started becoming a really good passer. Close the game outside of Giannis, you have a chance of winning. That's kind of the same thing with SGA. You know SGA is going to get to the line. You know SGA is going to have a good game. But prevent Chet from having a good game. Prevent Dort from having a good game. Prevent Caruso from having a good game. Prevent all these players from, just getting hot from behind the line. This is a very good shooting team. So just, obviously, you still want to defend Shea. I'm not saying don't focus on him. I'm saying defend him, but definitely close the game around him. That's the way you're going to beat the Thunder. But one thing that kind of is on our side is the fact that Jalen Williams is not playing against us. He has an injury that he got right before the season started, so he actually missed the Rockets game as well. But that's an All-NBA, all-defensive player right there that's not playing against us. So we got to capitalize on that. The fact that Cason Wallace is now starting instead of Williams, and we have Hartenstein at center. So Jackson can match up with Hartenstein at some point. It's that Siakam and Holmgren matchup that I'm really going to be focusing on, because Siakam has the strength, but Holmgren has the height. So that's something we need to look at, because that was a very interesting matchup in the finals, and I'm very excited to see how that one goes. And then just kind of seeing how Nembhard plays and Mathurin, because Mathurin's going to be going up against one of his best friends, Lou Dort. And obviously that's kind of a funny one in itself, but I just really want to see how Mathurin really, I want him to take personal the fact that we didn't offer him an extension right away. I want him to build into that and, just end up having a really good season, an all-star level season when he finally gets that starting role. He has all the potential in the world. And the only reason I'm saying take personally is I agree with the Pacers for not extending him. I also think he should, show that he deserves that extension. I want him to take that into account and then him just have a wonderful season. So I want him to have that mindset of, oh, they didn't extend me, well, I'm about to have the best season I could possibly have. And then extending Nesmith, Nembhard's on under contract. The team is pretty much locked for a bit. So we'll see how it goes, but just the game plan, make sure just play your game, because with J-Dub out, that's a different lineup, because he is as good as they come. So just play your game. Like I said earlier, close the game outside of SGA. Don't let anyone else outside of SGA get hot, because anyone on that team can just start popping threes for no reason. But as always, I'm your host, Hery Acosta. This is Pacers Daily. Boom, baby, and go, Sirs.